that rumor came out a week ago, and then it kind of quieted down, and then had the bowl game, and then he accepted the job. I'm guessing he's saying,
I don't know.
Wouldn't he have known that already in his mind? Well, maybe he did. Maybe he just wanted to help get through the bowl game.
I would say if any of it's true, let's say he's irritated at working with Brent. Wouldn't he have known that before the bowl game?
Sure.
I don't know what changed between before the game and after the game. I don't know if something happened during the game. I mean, like I said, our post-game interview with him, he didn't definitively say he's staying, but he kind of gave that impression. So I don't know. I think that, I know that they had offered him a significant compensation bump and a contract extension. And there was, at least in the minds of OU, a handshake agreement in place that he was going to take it and stay. And then when the news came out Saturday that he was going to West Virginia, they were surprised. So what happened, I'm not sure, honestly. Maybe we'll find out, maybe we won't. But Oklahoma will get a new defensive coordinator, and life will go on. And maybe the new DC will be better than Zach Alley teach. It is possible. I don't know what the temperature can be on a hot seat, but it's all the way up to the top.
Turned up. It's turned up.
It is all the way up to the top. And there is as much pressure as you can possibly have on Brent Venables.
Did that lead to some of the Alley decision, too, that he felt it was more stability going to West Virginia and Rich Rod and potentially maybe taking over that program when he is ready to step down? Maybe,
but if that's the reasoning, that's cowardly. Like, that would irritate me. Like, if you're saying, I don't think we can get it done here, I'm going to go somewhere else where I think we can get it done. Like, nothing's going to change for him a year from now as long as the defense is still good.
Yeah.
If they don't get it done, but the defense is really good, he's going to get hired in a second.
That's what I'm saying. Did he say, there ain't no fixing that other side? I'm getting out of here.
I don't think so. I don't know how you could look at Arbuckle and Mateer and say there ain't no fixing the other side.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying I don't know that he did, but yeah. I'm just trying to figure out
could be. I don't
what
know
happened behind the decision making,
Let's see if we can get him on the show and ask him some questions.
Sure, that'll happen.
See if you can book Zach Alley for the show when we come back.
I've put together a laundry list of, I've got like 10 on here, but like 5 to 6 reasons why. And some of them, here's what I've learned in just reading the tea leaves, and I lived kind of on Twitter. When did this break? It wasn't yesterday. It was 2 days ago, right? Was it on Saturday when it broke? Maybe it was. My son was with me, and we were walking around Target, and the intrawebs just started blowing up. It just started blowing up with this. And I think it started with, the Pete Thamel report?
Yeah, Saturday night.
And I was shocked. And so then I kind of lived very dangerously because I was with my kid. I was with my family. I didn't want to start bugging, quote-unquote, sources or reaching out to people. I'm with family, man. It's a holiday weekend. I think everyone understands that. So, Josh, I lived in the echo chamber. I lived in the Twitter world for about 24 hours. And what an incredibly caustic, dangerous place. I mean, again, now, what's funny to me is it went from Captain 405 not knowing anything to him being like the hero of everybody now, right? It's like, look at all this information he has. When literally, we don't know any of it. All right? I mean, we don't know what's real and what isn't. And I don't know unless Zach Alley decides to say something or unless Brent Venables decides to say something. Josh, I don't know if there is I don't know if we're ever going to get the real reason why this played out like it did.
Yeah. I think there's a couple of things you can point to for Alley, which obviously the familiarity with Rich Rodriguez. Sure. You start there. And the opportunity to not be connected to Brent Venables, and I don't mean that in a negative way toward Brent. I said this last week that for those that were saying, hey, is there any smoke here, legitimate smoke here, kind of the Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, and that's just, close to home for me, so that's the first one I think of. I'm sure there's other examples you can point to where it's the head coach maybe gets more credit than the coordinator in some ways because of the respect that the head coach has on the defensive side of the football or offensive. Maybe some of that was at play here, but boy, it's always shocking when somebody would leave Oklahoma for West Virginia.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So, do you want to go through this? Do you think that are we going to be good to get KJ on?
Yeah, we
should
be good. Yeah, I'll call her here in about 2 minutes here.
Okay, sounds good. Here's my biggest concern is we could not be more, and I hate to use serious mental issues as a way to describe the way that people act, but I'm going to do it here, and I'm going to pre-apologize, Josh. You people could not be more schizophrenic on Twitter and social media than you are right now. I mean, it's just I got right off the bat, I got a text from one of my buddies. He said the Alley situation was so dark on social media. I mean, it's almost as if John Mateer already played a season and sucked, right? I mean, it's just we are less than a week removed from getting the number one quarterback out of the portal, and a first-year defensive coordinator leaves, and some of you people act like it's the worst thing that's happened to the program since Charles Thompson was on the cover. No offense to Charles, just bringing up a moment, was on the cover of Sports Illustrated in a jumpsuit. I mean, it's not. It's not. I told you I've got like 8 to 10 reasons why. And Josh, we're not going to know and understand the true why of this unless anyone wants to break it out. Unless Zach Alley wants to come out and say, dude, I just felt like I had to get out from under his shadow, or I felt like I didn't have complete control of the defense, which, by the way, I'm fine with. I'm absolutely 100% fine with Brent Venables still having a hand in this defense. And if you're not, you're a freaking crazy person, okay? That's the one thing that just blew my mind this whole weekend. Brent was too overbearing on him, and he wanted to have a hand in it. Good. That's good. He should. And in this era, Josh, where we're becoming more NFL-like in college, there's a part of me that wonders if Brent said, buddy, I'm going to be even more involved. I'm going to be even more involved in this defense than I was before. And if you're not comfortable with that, maybe this is a good opportunity for you. I'm not saying I wanted Zach Alley to leave, Josh. I'm not saying it's not embarrassing to see your coach leave for West Virginia, okay? But I'm just saying – everyone immediately turns, and it adds with a 6-7 season, and it adds with losing to Navy. But the worst thing that happened to Oklahoma was not losing Zach Alley. It sucks. But, Josh, bottom line more than anything else, you just don't know what led to this until Zach Alley wants to tell you. And assuming and talking to sources does nothing more than just fan the flames because they don't know either.
All points well taken, and I think accurate. And we might not find out what the real rationale was for him leaving. Maybe Zach Alley says that at West Virginia at some point, but I'm with you. I mean, look, Brent Venables can call defense. I'm sure he'll get a nice defensive mind in here. Basically, Plank, some folks want to add this to the list of he's trying to jump off a sinking ship, right? I mean, that's where the panic comes from is all of the other things that haven't gone right.
Why isn't Todd Bates gone then? Why isn't Miguel Chavis gone then? Why is a guy that would be here 1 year? The guys that have been here from day one are still here.
It is just when you get the great news that Oklahoma got John Mateer. I think the Ben Arbuckle hire is a really good one. Bringing in Mateer, the top player in the portal, was huge for Oklahoma. But then you get the other news, of course, the latest being that Zach Alley is leaving Oklahoma. He's gone to West Virginia to work for another buddy of his, Rich Rodriguez, who is back as the head coach of the Mountaineers. And we had speculated, was this going to happen? There was some thoughts that he was going to stay, talk to his players. All indications were he was going to stay, and he is gone. Now, do I think this is a catastrophic situation for Oklahoma football? No, I don't. Brent obviously can call the defense. I would like to see a guy come in again that knows his defense very well, and help out, whether it's Wes Goodwin from Clemson, whether it's Brandon Hall, who would probably be the top in-house candidate, in Norman, or Todd Bates or Jay Valai. I still like having the total responsibility off his plate, particularly during the game. But there's no doubt Brent's a really good defensive mind. Is he a good head coach? So far, the answer is like a C- in that department. You got to win football games at Oklahoma. You can't go 6-7 2 out of your first 3 years. Now, the Zach Alley situation again. What it feels like more than anything else, and you're going to, let's play the clip from Bob Stoops on the Stoops review this morning on the T-Row in the Morning Show. And he was asked by Toby, what do you think about Zach Alley leaving for West Virginia? And here's what Bob had to say.
I'm surprised, but I don't know what all goes, when you're not the one making and in that decision, then, it's hard to fully understand what all was presented to him. As I heard you guys talking, whether it be financially or whether it be, head coach in waiting, those kind of things, you don't know. Those maybe aren't public, or maybe it is. I haven't followed it close enough for me to say, but there's a lot different, dynamics that go into the decision. So it's hard to sit here and be critical if you don't know all the details of it. I do find it surprising in that he has such a strong and long background with Brent, but he also does with Rich Rod. So, how you weigh all that, I don't know. That's every individual's different. I will say, I think it's a lot easier for Brent. I think he got the right guy with Arbuckle. If all things being, if he didn't hire another guy, Brent could go run the defense in a heartbeat.
There you go. Bob Stoops on the T-Row in the Morning Show and the Stoops preview brought to you by Stride Bank this morning. Now, again, on the Arbuckle or on the Zach Alley deal, not a catastrophic situation for OU. But what it does, again, it's just also a perception thing that somebody's always leaving Oklahoma. They've got a ton of transfer portal departures. A lot of those, I know, were processed. I get not every one was made by the player. But it's still, part of this is, and what's frustrating, remember when Oklahoma was the sexy destination for offensive players around the country to come play football? Quarterbacks wanted to play at Oklahoma. You had a great quarterback run, amazing QBs, amazing wide receivers who wanted to come to the University of Oklahoma. It feels like all that sizzle is gone right now.
It's been a rough few days. I'm not going to kid you. Been a rough few days to cover this program. Certainly been a rough few days to be a fan of this program because, man, it feels like the hits just keep coming. You lose to Navy. You lose Zach Alley to West Virginia. You lose a really talented, promising young linebacker in Lewis Carter to the transfer portal. And the questions continue to mount, man. They continue to mount heading into what will be a very pivotal 2025 campaign for this Oklahoma football team.
Man, just whenever we thought the slow season was about to kick off, right? Portal, the majority of the portal stuff we figured was kind of behind us. We got a couple more spots where we're going to add some guys. But for the most part, go beat Navy, lay low a little bit, talk about the future, and then the atom bomb is dropped on the team. It's crazy. A game where, let's be honest, gentlemen, other than a number on our record, didn't mean a whole lot. Other than, you go out and you perform and you compete anytime you have an opportunity. So, I don't mean it means nothing in that regard, but not a game that we felt like was going to have a huge impact on our season. And, I might even say going into it, there were a lot of people that weren't so sure that we were going to win the game. The spread got all the way down to 2.5 before kick. And then
I believe some books actually favored Navy. There were a few books where Navy closed as a 1-point favorite.
And, so it wasn't like the entire fan base thought we were going to go down there and trounce these guys. I did. And we go down, we jump up 14-0. Offense is just moving right along. Defense is playing well. And then, we have one of those quarters like we've had throughout the season where anything that goes wrong did go wrong. Anything that could go wrong did go wrong. And the whole thing fell apart, and you could feel the entire football team start to worry and say, oh, boy, here we go, and tighten up, and we're never able to recover from it. And you lose the game, and we go from, it was a crappy year. We got our quarterback in Mateer. We got our offensive coordinator. We look into the future. Things look good. To 24 hours later, it's like, feels like the Lincoln Riley leaving for USC thing all over again. The sky's falling. We are never going to recover from it. It was brutal.
Yeah, tough few days again. And I think what a lot of people have trouble reckoning with right now is the reality that you just lost a coordinator to West Virginia. And not to be their head coach, mind you, but just to be the defensive coordinator. You lost a guy to the same position at a school that is, in every measurable way, inferior, historically speaking,
yes,
to Oklahoma. And that's pretty unprecedented, Ted. Understandably, some folks have kind of heralded that as a sign of the apocalypse in Norman. And it doesn't mean the program is dead. It doesn't mean the program is dying, but it is undeniably a concern when a guy like Zach Alley, whose mentor is and was Brent Venables, who came to Oklahoma to work for Brent Venables, to run Brent Venables' defense, who said Oklahoma felt like home, who said Brent Venables was basically his second dad. For a guy like that to pack up after 11 months and head to Morgantown, West Virginia, of all places, it's entirely understandable that people would be a little put off by that.
Yeah, well, totally understandable. And here's the thing. I don't feel any different about the defense. In the grand scheme of things, I feel no different about the defense next year. I feel no different about the season next year. And I think everyone, or a large percentage of people, feel the same. It's just the perception of it, right? It's the perception of Oklahoma's defensive coordinator is leaving to go to West Virginia, especially whenever there's a connection there. I mean, it'd be one thing if it was a one-off hire and he came, like a Ted Roof hire, Yeah, I don't think that anyone would have been shocked, surprised, really felt any specific way about it had Roof only stayed one season and was gone after year one. I don't think anyone would have, panicked or, freaked out like we're seeing right now. But with Zach Alley, it's just the perception. And, I don't know how people view it nationally, but here, especially on the heels of that Navy game, it feels like it means something more. And if you thought that there was dysfunction up there, if you thought that, whatever the problems were, this just magnifies it for you, and everyone can point to it and say, yep, there's definitely something going on up there that smells.
Can you confirm or deny, Ted, that you have interviewed for the position of linebackers coach at the illustrious University of Oklahoma? The text line is inquiring.
I can confirm that I have not and will not.
Tragic.
Not going to happen. Not qualified. The last thing I want to do is to go up there and have everyone end up hating me, because it feels like depending on how long the timeline goes, I guess not really even depending, that's the wrong word, regardless of how long the timeline goes, feels like ultimately that's the only way that it ends, you know?
Unless you're Bob Stoops. Yep.
Unless you're Bob Stoops. Well, I guess I was speaking more of former players that stepped into coaching roles. I don't want that, and the fans don't want that. Trust me.
I think a lot of fans would dispute you on that. You have plenty of grassroots support as the next linebackers coach at the illustrious University of Oklahoma. But on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, Sooner Shane in Springfield says, for the last time, losing Allie is not a major issue. Then you have a 405 listener right on the heels of that who's saying, it absolutely is a sign of a dying program. Boy, there's a lot of very, very polar opposite takes on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. But going back to Sooner Shane in Springfield's text, he said, we have a Venables defense, but I guess I don't completely understand this text. We have a Venables defense, but an Alley defense. I have an easy solution. Promote B. Hall to D.C. and hire Brian Odom for linebackers coach.
Yeah. Well, to the first two texts that were polar opposites, I think that they are both correct. I think it's not a big deal in the performance of the defense for the future, in my opinion. Could be wrong on that. But it is a big deal in maybe what the view from the outside is of what the state of the program. And, you know, we talk about this a lot of times with things that, whether it's true or not, perception to a large degree is reality because, you know, we're a tiny little pocket of the country. You know, the rest of the college football world is not privy to the ins and outs and what everything means here, what it doesn't mean. It's just it's an overall view of the standing of our program. And on the heels of that Navy loss, there's probably people out there going, "Oof, man, that is not a place that you want to be." And whenever you're talking about transfer portal guys and, you know, heck, even like potential defensive coordinator hires, how many guys look at that and say, well, do I want that job? Why in the world would Zach Alley leave Oklahoma, coaching for a guy that mentored him and you know, taught him everything he knows, is leaving after 1 year to go to West Virginia? What's going on? So, yeah, I think both of those text messages happen to be correct.
3-star KW in the 918 says, Parker, my sources were telling me the Lehman kid was offered the linebacker gig, but he turned it down because BV wouldn't let him have Wednesdays off.
Yeah, contract negotiations broke down, and for whatever reason, frowned upon. The Wednesday off situation just didn't really go over very well.